Hi, hello, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. We are going to be talking about why protein matters more after 45. Yes. I am Liz Philippone. I'm the moderator of the Mindfully Fit for Life Facebook group. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, this is my YouTube channel. I would love for you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, because the more of that activity happens, it will show my stuff more, right? Because I want to build that channel up. So I'm Liz Philippone. I help people stay strong, confident, and independent by combining evidence-based training with mindful movement and nervous system support. I'm a multi-certified fitness professional and yoga professional. I specialize in strength, mobility, and corrective exercise for midlife and older adults. My approach focuses on building resilience, not perfection, so clients can move better, reduce pain, and continue doing what they love for years to come. All right, so we're going to kick it off on this live stream. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because, well, if you are 45 and or older, you know what I'm talking about, right? Hi, Flo. Hello. We have somebody on live. This is so exciting. Love it. If you are hopping on live, say hello. If you're watching the replay, say hello as well. So I'm going to get right into this. So before I get into this, okay, many people think if they're working out, their muscle health is taken care of. I'm not saying that that's not true. Okay, if you are working out, you're lifting weights, living heavy stuff, doing resistance training, things like that, you are totally taking care of your muscle health. But after 45, what you eat, especially protein, becomes just as important as your workouts. So this is something that I asked my community. I think it is. Yes, it is. I ask a lot of questions to my community because I like to get to know them and where they're at in their journey. But do you currently pay attention to how much protein you eat? I asked this last week. That's what I asked this last week. And I'm asking it again. Do you currently pay attention to how much protein you eat? Give me a yes, maybe sometimes, not really. I would love to hear your answer on that. Even if you are watching the replay, please, I would love to please interact with me. Please. I want to hear from you. Okay. So just a recap from last week, I was talking about why muscle health after 45 matters. A lot of things matter, right, after 45. But I'll recap last week. Talked about it's all about preserving your muscle health, right, at this point, not just building it. Absolutely keep building your strength, building your endurance, and your resilience, right, to whatever comes at you. But it's about preservation too. So I shared about the strength stimulus, adequate protein. I touched upon it. I'm going to talk more about that today. And then recovery support. So we're going to be focusing on protein. So what changes after 45? Again, I mentioned this last week. And I talked about anabolic resistance. Okay, anabolic, ANABOLIC, resistance. And the key points with that term is the body itself after 45 becomes less efficient at using protein, processing protein. So muscle repair slows down, right? Whatever's happening, right? Because what happens after 40, sometimes we have surgeries, injuries, things like that, right? It takes longer to recover. It takes longer for our muscles to repair, right? Hormonal changes affect muscle preservation. Yes, they do. And of course, recovery takes longer. I talked about that. that is just a little quick little, those are the key points of the anabolic resistance, what I talked about last week. So think of it like this. Your body becomes a little less sensitive to protein. So it needs a stronger signal from both exercise and nutrition to maintain muscle, and you're like, well, what does all that mean, right? Everybody's different. I'm just going to say that off the bat is everybody nutritionally is different. It's not one size fits all. Okay, so I want to make that clear. There's so many fad diets out there that could be doing more damage to one person than more beneficial to another person. And with diet, the word diet, I'm just going to bring this up, is I personally, unless you have a significant medical condition like diabetes, celiac disease, maybe you have an autoimmune disease, disorder, and you have to be on a strict diet, right? It's a little restrictive. That makes sense, right? That makes total sense. Like a diet to me is like, you want to, you have to support your body, biologically and medically. I don't know if I'm even making sense, but I hope that makes sense. Like, looking at your lifestyle, right? We have to look at our lifestyle, our habits too. And if we're unsure, or if we're just like, hey, I've tried everything to build more muscle, more strength. What's going on? I don't know. I've tried everything. Maybe I should talk to a dietitian, maybe a nutrition expert, to see what's medically going on with me. Getting the proper tests is so important. I wanted to just unpack that before I go into this. Okay, that's my little disclaimer. Okay, because we're different. We're all different makeup. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if that makes sense. I would love to know. All right, why protein matters. I'm going to go right into this. So what does protein do? What does it support? I talked a little bit about this last week. Muscle repair and recovery. So when you work your muscles, okay, and specifically, I will mention strength training, okay? Your muscles get worked when you do a specific resistance training, weightlifting, even walking, yeah? Certain exercises, right? Your muscles need to repair, right? And recover so they can get stronger, okay? But don't knock out stress here. Stress definitely can break down the body for sure, inflammation, okay? And that's what happens too as we get older, is inflammation happens. I talked about sarcopenia a long time ago, or not a long time ago, maybe a few live streams ago. I talked about sarcopenia, muscle loss. Go back and watch that one. Protein supports your metabolism, right? I always equate metabolism with energy. Stable blood sugar and energy. Of course, I just said energy, but I feel like metabolism and then blood sugar and energy fall under metabolism. Immune health, right? Your immune system, right? Protein supports that, absolutely. And then healthy aging and independence, right? Like as we age, we actually need more protein than we think. And I don't have the exact numbers. I have a lot of numbers with women, especially women. We actually need more than men. Yeah, but I'll go into that in a moment. But it is very important. As we get older, we actually need more protein-rich foods as we get older, right? For all those things it supports. So if you're strength training, but under eating protein, your body simply doesn't have the building blocks. It needs to rebuild the muscle you're challenging, right? I talked about muscle health last week, where it was like strength stimulus. is that you're giving the muscle a challenge, right? So it can get stronger and build more strength and resilience and be more healthy. But if you're under eating protein, it's not supporting those building blocks for that muscle to repair and get stronger. Okay, does that make sense? So people might recognize feelings of lingering soreness, fatigue, stalled strength progress, right? Maybe you have been weight training and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I feel like I've hit a plateau. I'm not going any further, right? I run into this a lot working with clients of different ages, different stages in their aging. And I've heard it. I've heard them say, wow, I'm so tired all the time, or, and not all the time, but it's like, yeah, that sets in for sure. But it's like that protein, if we're under eating protein and we are active, all right. And I don't say with strength training, I think in general, we're active. You're running around with your grandchildren, or maybe you're helping a elderly parent or family member, right? And it's physically taxing, right? It's also emotionally taxing too, and mentally taxing. And you're not properly fueling your body, absolutely, you're going to feel tired, right? So that is just a little quick glimpse on why protein matters. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section. I always go back after to check those comments. Okay, so I'm here for you. All right, common protein mistakes, right? This is, very common thing. These are some common things is we eat a very low protein breakfast, right? What do we usually go for? Just in the comments, even if you don't, even if you're watching the replay, I want you to write this in the comments. What do you typically go for in breakfast? Do you go for the toast with butter or some other spread? Do you go for cereal with milk? With milk, I hope, because at least there's protein in milk. Do you go for a pastry? Like bread, sort of quick carb breakfasts. I used to be a big Nutri-Grain bar person. Long time ago. Let me know. Because with those, you're just spiking your blood sugar up, right? And then you're going to crash later, right? You're going to crash from that. If we don't give ourselves that protein at the start of the day, it's not, it balances our blood sugar out. That's why it's important to eat protein. I always tell my clients at every meal, start there, add protein to every meal you eat. All right, most protein is only eaten at dinner. That's another common thing, right, that I see. And I have a client who I asked her, I go, how much protein do you eat a day? Or, with how many meals do you eat protein? And she gave it a little moment of thought. And she goes, just dinner? I go, okay. Now that she started eating protein at every meal, she has noticed her energy level has gone up. She doesn't feel so run down at a certain time of the day, right? She was tracking her energy after eating, more protein throughout the day, especially after our sessions and after she does her own workouts at home. She was like eating a more protein-rich meal after the workout, whether it was yogurt or a shake or some eggs, right, with some vegetables and mixing it up a little bit. And she felt like, oh my gosh, I felt full longer too, right? It does help you feel longer. It satiates us. The next one is underestimating how much protein we need. We underestimate, right? I'm going to say this. If you don't eat as much protein, right, I'm going to give you a number for women in a moment. You're going to be like, what? Especially women 45 and older. We underestimate it. And not everybody can digest protein, like they have to, you can only start, you have to start small and build up. You can't just like go full force into this number that I'm about to share with you. So women need 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Okay, so that's 1.0 to 1.6 grams, kilograms of body weight per day, depending on your activity level. All right, I'm not saying to do math. Okay. Actually, women who are 50 plus, peri or postmenopause, or are strength training actually need a higher end of that. They need 1.2 to 1.6 grams of body weight per day. That's a lot. Yeah, that is a lot. Hi, Liz. Flo says okay, so you have a nice Flo. So you have a nice, no, you have some protein. She has bacon, egg, and cheese on English muffins a couple days a week. Okay. All right. And that's good. Having an egg, not every day. I can't eat eggs every day. They just don't, I mix it up. I go Greek yogurt. I love Greek yogurt, and I mix it with berries and chia seeds. Sometimes I put like a high fiber cereal in there because then I'm getting like the grains, the fiber. I'm not going to go into fiber, but yeah. So yeah, that's a lot of protein per meal, 20 to 30 grams of protein. Very much. And not everybody can digest that right off out of the gate. I talk to my dietitian friends about this, and they guide their clients, gradually increase, but doing it intentionally, then your system will be able to. And that's why you have to pair the protein. It's better to pair it with like a very high fibrous food like vegetables, because then it's going to help move that stuff out. Okay. That's what they tell me. And then healthy fats too. And then the last common mistake I want to make about protein is skipping meals due to busy schedules. I know when we skip meals, man, it's actually not a good idea to skip meals. It's really not. We need that protein to, again, support all those building blocks, even weight loss. I'm going to throw weight loss in here, even though I don't advertise weight loss, all this. I don't with my work, with my programs. I always say that weight loss is an effect of my programs with a healthy diet, right? It does help, as I said before, in satiating, keeping us feeling full longer, so we're not snacking or like we're hungry, right? Because we didn't eat enough. So then we're grabbing for another bag of something, okay? Does this make sense? So many women I work with think they're eating enough, right? But then when they look closer, or I show them that sheet, I have a PDF, they're like, oh, I'm not eating enough protein. I know, it's a whole thing. All right, but don't let it stress you out. It's just, something to be aware of. All right. So any questions so far? We have a couple people going live here. I'm gonna grab a quick sip of a drink. All right. So I'm going to segue into a little bit of some, ways to get more protein in, even though I suggested some of those things. But, I'll let you know here that I mentioned Greek yogurt. I go for the plain. I do, because it's less sugar, okay? I didn't go into sugar, right? We got to be careful of sugar content in products, especially food that has labels on it, right? But Greek yogurt is usually 15 to 20 grams per cup, 3/4 cup, 6 ounces, whatever. You have cottage cheese, you have chicken breast, you have salmon, eggs. You can do a protein shake. I always add that into my day as extra protein. If you don't eat meat, tofu is good, tempeh, lentils, edamame. I live with a vegetarian, so he does eat all these things. Quinoa is a grain, but very high in protein. 1 cup is like 8 grams. So eating quinoa with like, another protein is like double whammy right there. It's a way to get extra protein in. Nuts and seeds, I know, are higher in fat content, the healthy fats, but actually can deliver, depending on the nut, depending on the seed, like within a 1/4 cup, like 6 to 8 grams of protein. So there's another way to add more, right? That's why I love adding chia seeds to my yogurt, because chia seeds has more protein. So I got my yogurt, and then I'm adding that 6 to 8 grams of more protein. That's like, I'm hitting my 20 to 30 grams right there, pretty much, of protein in that meal. Okay, that's just a quick little example of how you can do that. But if you are on a special diet, right, you have to check with your doctor, right? But you can do that. Pre-cook some of your meat. I have to do that because I don't always have time. Pre-cook it. I suggested to one of my clients, she makes more meat when she's cooking a meal for her family, and then she just stores the extra meat in the freezer, right? Or has it for leftovers, right? So having stuff ready-made really does help, okay? I am going to talk about a product that I use that really does deliver, a couple products actually, that really does deliver a good source of protein to your body. But it also includes creatine and collagen, which I have talked about. I think I talked about it last week. Actually, a month ago, I talked about creatine and collagen. I'm not going to go crazy there. A serving of creatine is 5 grams. That's a protein. I wouldn't necessarily call it 100% a protein, but it is a protein. And of course, collagen is something that supports our joints. But we want to think of protein, the things I listed, right, as the foundation for muscle repair and support. All right. So like I said, it becomes more important as we age, right? Because we're not assimilating it as well. We're not less efficient. Our bodies become less efficient at using protein. So we have to be constantly like balancing it out as much, and there is this product I use. It's called Triple Boost Protein. It's a plant-based protein. And what I love about it, and I mentioned it last week, is that it's also formulated for hormone support. Okay, it's called Triple Boost Protein. I get it through this company, Hue and Grace, that I'm affiliated with, and they have a vanilla flavor and a chocolate flavor. I haven't even tried it yet, but they have this ingredient in there, right? Like when you actually mix it, it looks blue, right? And then this is blue. Why is this blue? It's the blue spirulina. All right, if you've ever heard of spirulina, it's like a superfood, right? It's on those superfood categories, and it's a powerhouse of antioxidants. Especially, okay, if I can say this word, I don't know. Bear with me. Phycocyanin, Phycocyanin. Phycocyanin, I guess. Yeah. It's a compound in spirulina, which you can find in this protein powder, Triple Boost. And what that does is it fights free radicals, right? Which is linked to anti-aging, right? I don't like to say anti-aging because it's inevitable, right? We age, but it reduces all those free radicals in the body. It reduces inflammation, supports immune health, and promotes cellular regeneration. How cool is that? Ugh. So it's got that. That's like I would say like one of the coolest ingredients in Triple Boost protein. It's also packed with essential nutrients like your B vitamins, iron, and amino acids, making it it's so perfect for energy, detox support, and hormone balance. The main protein source that it uses is pea protein. So it's plant-based. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the ingredient, because I'm so picky about my powders, right? I really pick protein powders that have minimal ingredients and it's third-party tested, okay? But then like powders like this that have antioxidants and these superfoods and additional stuff, that's even more of a bonus, right? And what I really love about where they get their source of ingredients is actually it comes from Iceland. I'm not joking. It comes from Iceland, which is one of the cleanest environments in the world, right? And I'm talking about the spirulina. It comes from Iceland. And a lot of that is like, and they have a really amazing environment there. No heavy metals, toxins, or nasty things like that. Just pure blue spirulina. I know. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't know all this stuff, right? And Human Grace, they get a lot of their products manufactured in Canada. So in Canada's got those strict policies with certain ingredients that they put in products. So it's a very clean and really, it comes from a really good source. All the ingredients come from a really good source there. So on that note, I'm going to close. So if you're interested in trying that protein powder, Triple Boost protein, let me know. I would love for you to comment muscle because we're talking about muscle all the time, right? When it comes down to the day, but comment muscle. And I can send you a promo code where you can get $10 off your first order. Okay. So I am going to leave you with a question. Am I? Where am I in my notes? Where are my notes here? Huh. I'll just leave you with this question because we were talking protein now. Actually, I started the live here with this. I'm so sorry. My bad. So I'm going to leave you with this question that I started with this live stream. Do you currently pay attention to how much protein you eat? All right, give me your answer. And if you want to try this Triple Boost protein product, just comment muscle, okay? And I'll get in touch with you. And I can send you a promo code and you get $10 off your first order. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.